news today was the Erik Duran sentencing. A former NYPD sergeant is heading to prison after a controversial incident. This was on duty that turned deadly. Erik Duran has been sentenced to 3 to 9 years for manslaughter after throwing a cooler at a fleeing suspect during a 2023 drug operation. It caused the man to crash his scooter and die. This case drew intense reaction, outrage among police officers to calls for accountability. It raises serious questions about use of force, those split decisions that officers have to make as well. I have on with me right now criminal defense attorney Arthur Aidala. He was also on the defense team. Arthur, I think first of all, paint the picture of what it was like in that courtroom when the judge handed down that sentencing.
So, first of all, thank you for having me on. It's awesome to be on with a star like yourself.
Thanks, Arthur.
I I've never participated in something like that representing a police officer. It was very, very intense,
hmm
very intense. There were, I don't want to throw out numbers, but I don't know, over 100 members of the NYPD and maybe even other law enforcement agencies there. There was also protesters there, Black Lives Matters people were there, and some family from the deceased. I mean, it was really, really, really tense. The courtroom was packed. I mean, when I say packed, I mean packed, packed, packed. Besides the judge who was going to hand down the sentencing, the chief judge of the Bronx, Judge Yearwood, he was in the courtroom as well, just on the sideline as a spectator, but like in his robes. And I will tell you, as a lawyer, like you usually don't have two judges in this courtroom at the same time, but that's how intense it was. The major of the building, who he's the court officer who's in charge of the whole building, he was front and center. I mean, it was as you know. I mean, I've done the Harvey Weinstein case,
hmm
Lawrence Taylor, Rudy Giuliani. I mean, I've done some big cases, but this was right up there with all of them. And it was just, it was really an emotional roller coaster ride. It really upset me because the way the judge, like everyone did their role, right? So the prosecutor spoke and they asked for 3 to 9 years. I don't think they thought they were ever getting 3 to 9 years. Then the deceased mom spoke through an interpreter, and she didn't speak very long, but she talked about how much she missed her son and how much his children miss him. Then one of the attorney who tried the case, Andrew Quinn, for the sergeant, spoke, and he was fantastic, and he highlighted the fact that this sergeant had never been in trouble in 15 years. He had taken 50 guns off the streets. He had taken hundreds of bullets off the streets, never had a CCRB complaint against him, never had any complaint against him, never fired his weapon in 15 years, had so many awards and commendations. And this was a 2.5-second event where
hmm
he had to decide what to do. And when the judge came time, and then Eric spoke, and in Spanish, he
hmm
apologized to the family of the deceased and specifically to the mom. And it was very poignant and very touching. And then he told the judge, I became a police officer to protect people. And that's what I was trying to do that
Yeah.
day, because this guy was on a motorcycle heading towards people, about to hit them about to hit people. And I hit him with the cooler just to stop him from hitting other people.
hmm
And it was touching. And then the judge spoke. And here was the part that was rough. If he spoke for 15 minutes, give or take, 12 and a half was about how great the sergeant was and his background and his
Yeah.
history and all that. And we were like, wow, he's going to cut him a break.
Yeah.
And then he goes, but you took someone's life, and here's 3 to 9 years. And
Wow.
I mean,
It,
I actually said something out loud, like I cursed to myself, but it came out of my mouth, which
yeah.
it shouldn't have. I mean, nobody heard it but me, but I was just shocked by it.
Yeah.
And what is interesting, I'll just leave you with this. When the judge, so I asked the judge, could you leave him out for a week while we try to get him bail from the
hmm
appellate division? The judge said no, put him in. The court officers did not put handcuffs on him. They just said, okay, come in the back with us, where normally they would put handcuffs on somebody. But they would, I think they didn't want to give anyone the satisfaction of seeing that happen, because most of the people who were in the courtroom for the trial thought he should have been found not guilty.
There's so many intense emotions here. Like you just said, the defense, your team argued that this was a split second decision. with the cooler being thrown, but the judge didn't take that argument. He said something else. He said something like the cooler was thrown out of anger. What exactly did he say? He didn't seem to agree with
He
that. What was
he
his justification
correct.
about the cooler being thrown?
Okay, so Eric testified at trial, and he said he admitted I've been involved in operations where the defendant gets where the perpetrator gets away. It's kind of like a normal thing that happens. That's not why I threw the cooler. And he didn't really throw it. It was like one motion with his hand, and he held it and he hit the guy on the shoulder,
Yeah.
which made the motorcycle fall, and he hit his head. Had he hit his arm, had he hit his ribs, had he hit his leg, we wouldn't even been talking about this right now. But unfortunately, the way he fell, he hit his head. And by the way, the sergeant was the first one to render aid. But the judge said, I don't think you knocked him down to prevent him from hitting the people on the sidewalk. I think you knocked him down because he was fleeing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I'm sentencing you to. That's why I'm sentencing you to 3 to 9. There was an expert who testified, who wasn't a police officer, who testified that the rate of speed the kid was going and his weight and the weight of the bike and the trajectory he was on, he was going to hit either police officers or civilians who were on the sidewalk. This is 5 o'clock in the afternoon in the summer outside a park. There's civilians around, there's police officers around. And so Eric said, I did that because he was about to hurt someone with the bike. And the judge said, I don't believe that. I think you should have let him go. Again, Natasha, with 2.5 seconds.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, he didn't pull out his gun and shoot the guy.
Mm-hmm.
He just wanted to knock his trajectory away from the people he was about to strike.
What
And
kind of precedent does this case and this sentencing set?
it's really one of the things that the defense attorney who I'm working with said. He goes, Judge, this is the only job where if you make a mistake, you go to jail. If you're a plumber and you put in the wrong plumbing and there's a flood, maybe you got to pay some money, but you don't go to jail. If you're you're a car mechanic and you make a mistake, maybe someone gets a flat, but you don't go to jail.
Mm.
If you read the teleprompter incorrectly, maybe God forbid you get fired, but you don't go to jail. But
Yeah.
when you're a cop and you make this
Mm-hmm.
mistake, you go to jail. And what kind of message are you sending to every police officer in the United States of America? And the message is like, don't take any risks. I mean, basically what the judge was saying is you should have stayed back, not done anything, let the guy zip by you with the motorcycle, because Eric never said he was defending himself. He said I could get out of the way. But he's about to hit 4 people who were sitting, and 3 of them, I think 2 of them had their back to the motorcycle. He said I was doing it so he didn't hit them. And so what the message is like, just step back. If the cops get hit, if the civilians get hit, we'll deal with it then. And I've been involved in hundreds and hundreds of these, and that's not an exaggeration. And I'll be honest with you, because you and I know each other. I came back to my office and I took a nap
Mm.
because I was so emotionally drained.
Mm-hmm.
Look, 2 to 6, 1 to 3. Those were the choices the judge had: 1 to 3, 2 to 6, 3 to 9, 4 to 12, 5 to 15. I did not think 3 to 9 was coming out of that judge's mouth. Not the way he spoke. I thought maybe 1 to 3, worst case scenario, 2 to 6. When he said 3 to 9, I was just blown away. For this, he's a child of the Bronx, grew up in the Bronx, married his high school sweetheart in that courthouse, testified in that courthouse, played basketball and baseball right outside of Yankee Stadium right there. A real cop who loved his neighborhood and protected his neighborhood. Never in trouble on the job in 15 years, not one complaint against him. And to not take that into consideration and give him 3 to 9 years was just a miscarriage of justice.
Does your team plan to appeal?
Well, it's already
Yeah.
yes, yes. We've already filed papers. We're going to go into the appellate division probably
Mm-hmm.
tomorrow or Monday and ask that he be released from prison while we execute the appeal. Which I'm very blessed to have a wonderful team of 3 retired judges,
Mm-hmm.
7 former prosecutors. We did pretty well for Mr. Weinstein in the appellate courts, and we're going to try to do even better for Eric,
Yeah.
who's just a
How
wonderful young
likely
man.
is that he could be released while it's all being worked out?
Well, there's 2 main things that a judge has to take into consideration about whether to release him or not. Number 1 is the success on the appeal, and because this was a bench trial, the judges get to look at the facts again. Normally, in a trial, in an appeal, you just look at whether the judge gave the jury the right information to make their decision. But in a bench trial, you get to argue to the appellate division judges, and here there'll be 5 of them, that the judge like weighed the evidence incorrectly and he should have been found not guilty. So that's the first argument you have to make to a judge at this point to let him out. The other thing is he a danger to society? Is he a risk of flight? This guy's never been in trouble in his life. He's
Mm-hmm.
showed up to every court appearance. He's been out this whole time since he got convicted. He knew he was going in today. If he was going to flee, he would have fled already. So that part we have locked up. He's not a danger to society. He's not a risk of flight. We just have to go in and convince the judges he's probably going to win on appeal. And if they do grant bail pending appeal, they speed up the calendar. So we only have like 60 days to put in his appeal. They have 30 days to answer. We have 15 days to answer after that. Then we do oral arguments, and then they decide the case.
Yeah, this is a very this is a controversial case, of course, but it's also very conflicting. A lot of different emotions in that a person is dead, and it was a split-second decision by a police officer, and now there's implications of officers like, you know, would they hesitate in dangerous situations now? Would they have to think twice? And also, where is that line between just, you know, legal line between a mistake and criminal liability for officers too? There's just a lot of different dynamics at play.
And just to be clear, he apologized to the family. He wanted to apologize to the family from day one. He had no concept that when he was going to hit this guy, he didn't hit him in the head, he hit him in the shoulder. That it was going to cause his death. He wanted it to cause him to make the bike move. There's no doubt about that. That was his intent. Maybe if I hit him in the shoulder while he's riding this motorcycle, it was like a less than a motorcycle, a motorbike. It'll just take him off the path of hitting these civilians and these police officers. So that was his intent. He did not foresee. That's the key thing here. He didn't foresee the guy was going to go off the curb, ricochet something, and hit his head in the back of a car, which he did. And then Erik Duran ran right over and administered aid. And he saw how much he was bleeding, and he started screaming for an ambulance. He did the best he could under those circumstances, but he had no intent to hurt him the way that this guy wound up being hurt. And he apologized to the family, and he says he's very Catholic. He goes to church every Sunday, and he told the family, "I pray for your son every day."
Yeah. Well, you'll have to keep us updated on the appeal process there. Arthur, great to see you. Thank you so much for joining me and breaking this all down. Tough day in court.
You're the best. It's always a pleasure to be on with the best. So thank you.
Thanks, Arthur.